Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my June reading wrap up. In the month of June I read 10 books, but in all there were 12 because I ended up DNFing 2 books. I reread 1 book. For genres I read 1 fantasy, 1 just regular fiction, 7 romances, and 1 mystery. Before we get into anything though, I want to thank today's sponsor of the video, and that is Book of the Month. Book of the Month is an online book service for readers. They choose 5 to 7 new books each month, and then every month they bring you a short list of the best new fiction that they come across. It's more than just books because they also have an app that you can review the books you're loving, track your path to rewards, crush digital challenges. They also have audiobooks. Like I said, every month they carefully choose what they believe is the best new fiction and they bring that list to you. They also focus on new and emerging authors so that they're able to provide books that you may not have found otherwise. They also offer the best prices on new release hardcover fiction, as well as free shipping and a royalty rewards program. Like I said, they've also added audiobooks that you guys can choose and download right in the Book of the Month app. Now that they have 2 formats to choose from, each month you can choose whether you want to do the hardcover version or you can do the audiobook. Into the books that I got for my Book of the Month this month, I am so excited about both of them. I've been waiting for this blue box to show up on my doorstep. The first one I'm really excited about is The Lost Story by Meg Shaffer. I read my first Meg Shaffer book this year, so when I saw she was coming out with a new one, you know I had to get it. This book is actually inspired by Narnia, which is really exciting because that was one of my favorite movies growing up. It's about these 2 boys who go missing, and little does everyone know, while they were missing before they came back, they were in this magical world. The other book that I got is The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. This cover is everything to me. Look how pretty this cover is. This book says that a recently deceased woman meets the one in the afterlife waiting room, scoring a second chance at life and love if she can find him on Earth before 10 days are up. A little bit of a twist on a romance novel. These 2 I am so excited to add to my July TBR. If you guys are interested in Book of the Month or joining, the link will be in my description. And if you want to get your first book for just $9.99, you can use the code WAVE. Again, the link and the code and everything will be in the description. And thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into all of the books that I've read in the month of June. 2 things I need to point out. 1, yes, I am sitting on my floor while there is a perfectly good brand new chair right next to me, but it's holding all of my books right now. Actually, maybe there's 3 things I need to say. 2, I'm sorry about the lighting. It's been so gloomy the past couple of days, so we're working with what we got. It's a little bit more gloomy, a little bit darker, the lighting, but we're working with it. 3, I need to point this out just for my mental because I know this and I need both of us to know this. This pink shirt that I'm wearing, I'm actually wearing it backwards and I felt the need to point that out. It's supposed to be a little bit lower in the front, but I decided to turn it around because I think this looks cuter. I didn't need to say that. I didn't need anyone to know that, but just because I knew and I was aware of it, I need us all to be aware of it, and I think that's kind of fun. I'm gonna stop yapping. Let's get into all 10 books that I read this month, my ratings, my reviews, the 2 that I DNF'd. Why did I DNF them, you may be asking? I'm gonna tell you. First book that I read this month is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is a 4-book fantasy series. I picked this up at Barnes because they redid the covers of them and I really liked all of the covers. This is about Leia, whose brother is taken by the Empire, and in order to find him and save him, she joins the rebels and becomes a spy for them. So she is thrown in this very dangerous situation, posing as someone she is not, again, for the rebels to save her brother, get more intel, and share information back to the rebels. And then on the other side of it, it's dual point of view. You have Elias, who's actually part of the Empire, and he is in this military school almost, and he's about to graduate, and he's going to become a mask, who's like kind of like the highest in the military and one of the more ruthless types of military people in the Empire. And you end up finding out that they have a lot more in common than you think. I gave this one 3.75. I really enjoyed learning about our 2 characters, but I feel like as this is the first in a fantasy series, we didn't get too much to it. As the series goes on and I read the 2nd, the 3rd book, I'll be more invested and more into the characters. I feel like this one you're getting more background on the both of them, where I thought their paths were going to intertwine and cross a little bit more. I feel like they spent a lot of time separately in their point of views and not in the same scenes, and when they were in the same scenes I was so excited because those are our 2 main characters, but I feel like we were following their 2 separate stories and what was going on in their lives at that point separately, and I just wish they kind of combined a little bit more. But I do see myself really enjoying the rest of the series and getting more invested as it goes. I tried to start the 2nd one, but I wasn't really in a fantasy mood, so I'm waiting for that to come back because I think I'm gonna really enjoy this, especially as it goes on. I see so much of the potential of what's gonna happen and I've heard so many great things, so I'm definitely gonna continue the series. I definitely want to finish it, just not the time right now, but I'm really happy that I read this. It was very entertaining. I really liked the writing style of it. It was just like a little bit slow. I kind of wanted to feel a little bit more, but again, I think that's going to come with reading more in the series. Then I ended up DNFing The Summer After You and Me by Jennifer Salvato Doktorsky. This is a YA romance novel. It's a second chance book. I like reading YA in the summertime because I feel like it's fast paced. It's the perfect time to read those types of books, and I usually don't connect to YA books, just being the age that I am and reading about a younger age in romance. Sometimes it's kind of nostalgic and I do like that element element of it, but when I don't connect to it and I don't really feel anything towards the character, sometimes it's fun if I'm in the mood for it, but it doesn't happen too often. I did pick this up because our main character lives at the Jersey Shore, so I was like, this is gonna be fun reading about somewhere that I've been to and I live at. But right when I started, I just didn't connect to the writing style or the characters or what the storyline was gonna portray. It's basically a second chance romance. Our main character lives at the Jersey Shore year long. Something happens between a boy that comes every summer, so he's not a local there, he's just like a summer vacationer. He comes back and like things have been weird between the year that he's been gone, so that's kind of like the gist of it, but I just didn't really like what was happening and the storyline and the writing wasn't for me, so I just didn't connect to it. Then I ended up reading Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This book surprised me so much. Well, I don't really want to say that because I read The Nightingale by her earlier this year and I really enjoyed it, and there were so many book recommendations you guys gave me of her books that I should read since I did enjoy The Nightingale, and this was one of them. What I love so much about her books is that she writes just fiction novels, and sometimes the synopsis and the summary on the back doesn't pique my interest, but the way that she writes it literally just feels like you're put into the world or you're watching a movie. Like the way that she just like portrays everything and depicts like all these like themes within them and just like painting the whole story is just like so amazing. Like she does such a good job. But because I've read a book by hers and I really like the way that she paced the book, wrote the book, created the characters, made you feel for them, like everything just like clicked. So I was really excited to read this one because this is about two girls who meet when they were younger. I think they're like 14 or something. They're very different. They're on very different sides of the tracks. Their family life is different. They are just kind of like opposites, but they're able to connect when they're younger and become the best of friends. And you kind of follow them throughout the decades of their lives and being best friends and what comes within that. I gave this book 5 stars. I've been thinking about it since I read it. It is so good. The way that she depicts female friendships is just like chef's kiss, and I love reading about that in books. It's just something that as a girl, as a woman, can relate to. And as I was reading this, it again follows throughout their decades. So you have starting in the 70s when they're like 14 years old, then the 80s and the 90s, and then kind of more going through present day and seeing them go through their lives just separately, but also as friendship and like what kind of happens throughout that, kind of like weaving through. I feel like at whatever stage of life you're at, as a girl, as a woman, as really anyone that has a best friend or like could feel something like that, I think anyone can connect to it in any stage of their life and can feel something. And just being in the point of views of these two characters and seeing what they're going through and then like going through the friendship with it and like the way their lives kind of like go separate ways but then come together, and the pieces of each life that she took and what she decided to put in here within the friendship and each other's lives, I think was just like perfect. And the way that she wrote it was like, again, she's depicting it in such a realistic way that I just connected to it the whole time. Like it was so easy to relate to and connect to, and just watching their friendship one grow but then also what they go through individually and together, it was just, I just loved it so much. There's also parts in here that I can't really connect to personally, like motherhood and things like that, but seeing things in that point of view puts things into perspective for me, and did while I was reading it, and just like it just like did something to me, and I absolutely loved it. I love her writing so much. I cannot wait to read at one point maybe all of her books. I'm just like obsessed, and this was so good. Then I read a book on my Kindle and I read You Deserve Each Other. This book is about our two main characters whose engagement is really falling apart, and instead of communicating about it or breaking it off, they decide to just like be really petty and kind of rile each other up, which gives a very entertaining aspect to it. Like I was giggling through this, just the things that they decided to say to each other and do to each other was just like very entertaining. But then you have the aspect of their relationship is falling apart, and that's really sad. I gave this book 4 stars, and what I really enjoyed about it is that you have these two characters that are already together at the start of the book. You're not seeing how their love kind of like blossoms or anything like that. You do get glimpses into the past of how their relationship did come to be and like how it fell apart, but that's not like the main story. But I really enjoyed the writing style. I think it was very fast-paced. It was very entertaining. Again, some of the stuff was kind of petty and outlandish, and it was like you guys can just communicate in some ways, but it just wasn't working out. I don't know. I like the concept of the story. I think again it was fast-paced, so I would definitely recommend it if you're into a romance. But I said this in the reading vlog, it takes place more towards like the winter time, so I would save this for those seasons and those months. But again, if you're like in Australia and it's becoming winter time for you guys, I highly recommend this one for that season. And then I read another book on my Kindle. I read The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. This is the 3rd book in the Housemaids trilogy. I wanted to read this one because I needed a fast-paced book, and Frida always delivers with that, and 2, I wanted to complete this trilogy because I did read the first 2. I enjoyed the first one, I would say, the most. This one follows our main character from the first 2 years in the future, so it's a different time period in our main character's life, which I really appreciated that part because I feel like it could have gotten a little repetitive if she was the same age, in the same like lifestyle, and doing the same things as she was prior in the first 2 books. I will say that this one was the least like adrenaline rushing that I feel like I get from Frida McFadden books. I ended up giving this one 3 stars because the other Frida McFadden books that I've read I feel like have more plot twists and keep me on the edge of my seat, even if they're not like like my favorite thriller mystery books, she still has this like way that she writes that really gets you and really pulls you in, which I will say her writing style is still very fast paced in this book, but it didn't really have me on the edge of my seat. I wasn't really interested in what was going on. I feel like the first half of the book, there wasn't a lot happening. I wasn't like figuring out really anything. I was just like reading more for the vibes, but then I would say the second half of the book picked up pacing and left more questions to be answered and lots was being revealed and happening, but that first half felt very, very slow in what was happening. Not the pacing of the book, because I read it pretty quickly. I think I read this book in a day, but what was happening, I feel usually in Freida McFadden's books, like even like the first few chapters, you get like a lot of plot twists and a lot happening and whiplash going on, where I feel like this one started off pretty slowly, especially being that we've known this main character for first 2 books and we know what she's like and everything like that. So I just wish the first half was a little bit faster or gave like more plot twisty, adrenaline rushing things going on. It was more just like we're learning some stuff, but I think it still was a pretty good ending to the whole trilogy and completing the whole series. I feel like she included stuff from the first 2 books, especially like the second half of it more, that kind of like tied it together that I really liked. So it was a fun time. I love reading Freida McFadden books when I need something to read that's fast paced. I need to get through a book where I'm in a slump or something. I always go to her books. Then I read Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. I wanted to start her Gold Rush Ranch series over the summer, which is this series. There's 4 books. It's her first series she's ever wrote. It's prior to the Chestnut Spring series, but in the same world. This one is called Off to the Races and it's about Vaughn and Billy. I really enjoyed Billy's character. She was so witty. She reminded me a lot of Willa from Heartless and Chestnut Springs, if you've read that one. But Vaughn's grandfather passes away and he leaves the ranch to Vaughn, but after passing away, kind of like this scandal comes out about him, so Vaughn is left to pick up the pieces. And then Vaughn's late grandfather's best friend hires Billy to help wrangle one of the horses for the horse races, and this horse is very difficult. No one's been able to train him or anything like that, so you have Billy on the job. Vaughn is obviously her boss. She's working on the ranch. She's living on the ranch. You have them in close quarters to each other, but Vaughn is not really into it. He's very grumpy, you know, the usual grumpiness I feel like you get from Elsie Silver's male main characters. I give this one a 3.5 stars though, just because I wasn't too connected with, especially Vaughn. I feel like more so than Billy. I really enjoyed Billy and I just didn't really connect with like the horse racing or anything, but I do think this is like a great book for summer vibes and small town country vibes on the ranch. Like if you want those vibes in a book, Elsie Silver always delivers, and this one definitely did. It was very fast paced. I think I also read this one in a day. It was so quick, like I couldn't put it down. Every time I start reading an Elsie Silver book, I just want to continue reading, like I can't stop, and this one definitely did that too. I feel like this one though had more internal dialogue and a lot going on within like the main character's point of view in their like heads than like dialogue with each other, which is what I love so much about her more recent books. And even for her first book, her writing style is just so fun and so fast-paced and so good. So I'm so excited to finish the series and continue it, and I cannot wait to read about Miss Violet Eaton's story. Then I DNF'd my next book. This one was more of a soft DNF, but the more that I think about it, I don't really know when or if I'm gonna get back to it, so I decided to include it anyway, and that is Beach Cute by Beth Reekles. I was so excited to read this. This was in my summer rec / summer TBR video, and I added this to my summer TBR because, like I said, YA books I just get really excited to read over the summer. They're just the perfect fast-paced ones to binge, and the cover of this one was too cute to pass up. This is about 3 girls who all go to the same place on vacation separately. They don't know each other and they're all going through different things. I didn't get very far into it, but I'm assuming they all meet each other and strike up a friendship, which I think would be really cute. I stopped reading this because I wasn't really connecting to the story or anything, but I feel like I can see myself picking this back up if I'm ever in the mood for a YA little book. Maybe this isn't a hard DNF, maybe this is a more soft DNF, but I did DNF it during the month. Then I read 7 Summer Weekends by Jane L. Rosen. This book cover is so pretty. I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the colors and everything. I think it's so cute. This book is about Addison, whose aunt passes away, and she never really had a relationship with her aunt. When she was younger she did, but something happened between her aunt and Addison's parents where they kind of like split the family apart a little bit, and she hasn't spoken to her in years. When her aunt passes away, she inherits and gives Addison her house on Fire Island, which the atmosphere and the setting of Fire Island was like so amazing. If you like really being submersed into a setting, especially like summertime beach settings, like this is like giving so much of that. And each week you have someone from her late aunt's life that comes back into Addison's life and comes back to the house to stay for the week and kind of shows more into her aunt who she hasn't seen or talked to and isn't able to obviously anymore. So getting glimpses of her aunt through these different people and through their experience and their eyes of the aunt is just, I loved that part so much. I gave this book 3 stars though because it kind of like switched a little bit throughout. The first half of this where you're getting these different characters coming into Addison's life and showing her how her aunt was and what this island and this house meant to her, which also I forgot to say, Addison's going to the house to sell it, but when she gets there her aunt leaves her a note and says you have the summer and these next 7 weeks to decide if you want to sell it or not, so just stay here, see how you feel, and then decide. So over the course of the next 7 weeks you have people that are coming to stay, and that part I liked so much. I think it was so interesting, an interesting twist, rather than her finding out stuff about her aunt through her aunt, like her aunt leaving her stuff, it was people throughout her aunt's life, and I just really enjoyed that. It really showed and painted painted a picture of her aunt and also for Addison to learn more about her, which that part of the story gives it more of like a literary fiction, women's fiction feel. And then the second half kind of picks up on like a romance where she meets the neighbor and he's very grumpy. He's not really into all of this because he loved Addison's aunt, and obviously he knows that Addison's thinking of selling the house. I feel like usually when the romance picks up in a book, I'm eating it up, and that's like the part that I loved most. But when the romance picked up, I wasn't really into it. I feel like the word choice and some of the quotes that she was using kind of like didn't connect with me, and I didn't really love. That's where it kind of fell flat for me because I was enjoying so much those 7 weeks that people were coming to stay, and that was really fun. But yeah, the romance didn't really do it for me, and I think that's where the rating kind of fell to like a 3. I did enjoy the writing style. It was very fast paced. I really enjoyed the way she painted the picture again of like the setting and everything, but I just didn't really like the romance too much in this one. Then I read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This was her June release. This one is about Rue and Eli, and Eli's company is trying to take over Rue's company. They're both in the STEM world. They didn't meet during this. They actually met, I think it was like the night before or something like that, because Rue goes on these dating apps and she meets with men and she just like spends a night with them, and that's kind of all she likes to do because she's not really into relationships. She doesn't want to be in a relationship, so she actually meets Eli on the dating app and doesn't know that he is part of the company that's trying to take over her company, but they don't end up spending the night together. So she sees him again when he's like standing up in front of her whole company. He's like, oh my god, like he's the one that's trying to take over my job. If you've read this book or if you've seen any of the notes about this book, this one is Ali Hazelwood's most spiciest book. She wrote in the beginning that these two characters find a connection with each other more physically, so it falls more into like the more erotica space, especially compared to all of her other books, which when I first heard that, I think my expectations kind of lowered because I don't know why in my head when I heard that it was gonna be more of an erotica romance, that it was gonna be just like physical stuff going on, not really an emotional depth, not really much to the characters, just kind of having a physical connection, and that's kind of where it was gonna land. Much to my surprise, I don't know why I assumed that, but I think because my expectations were at that point that I really enjoyed this book more than I thought, because our two main characters have stuff going on in their lives and in their past that have to come to light, but that's the reason why they don't want to have this go any further than anything physical. I ended up giving this one 3.75 stars. It was close to a 4. I don't know, sometimes I'm like, should I give it a 4? I don't know. I stood at the 3.75 because I'm being a little bit picky, but Ali Hazelwood's writing in this is so good. Like, it's so fast paced, of course, really entertaining. Like, she made me giggle so many times. I really enjoyed Eli's character, the way that he was careful with Rue and really understood the way she felt and was waiting for her to open up, and just like whatever Rue needed in that moment, like he was able to give and like meet her there. He was just very careful with her, very caring, and I really enjoyed his character. Like, he really saw Rue. I didn't really connect too much to Rue in a sense, but I do like that she had like her past story and reasons for why she is the way that she is, why she acts the way that she does, and I really enjoyed the depth that these two characters had. And obviously this one has more spicy scenes and everything like that, but I don't know why I thought that, that was going to be the majority of what this book was, but obviously it's a lot that's in this book. If you took out the spicy scenes, you still have these characters and the depth and the banter and the storyline with the company and everything just all woven together. It was really good. I really liked this one. It's not my favorite Ali Hazelwood book, but I really enjoyed it. Then I read Leather and Lark by by Bryn Weaver, and this is the second book after Butcher and Blackbird, which I read recently, and I really enjoyed that one. That was so fun. Leather and Lark is interconnected, so you don't need to read Butcher and Blackbird to read it, but it's about our first main character, Rowan's brother, Lachlan, and our first main character, Sloane's best friend, Lark. Lachlan is a contract killer, and then you have Lark, who is an artist, a musician. I don't want to say too much because I feel like it gives away something that you don't really find out in the first one until you start reading this one. I mean, you find out in like the prologue of it, but still. Our two main characters don't really get along for something that you find out, but they end up having to have a fake marriage go on. I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars, which is really disappointing because I was so excited about this one. I don't think it had anything to do with the writing style. I think it was more the story and the characters that I didn't connect to. I think because I liked the first one so much for how unhinged it was and the banter and like the way Rowan was like obsessed with Sloane. This one fell flat for me because I didn't connect to the way that Lachlan was with Lark, or Lark as a character, or the two of them together. I don't really feel anything, and this one's very slow burn, which was surprising to me because I feel like the first one wasn't very slow burn. I know I shouldn't be comparing the two of them, but just because I liked the first one so much, I think I started to compare it. This one, not even until 70%, I feel like you don't feel any romance going on, and all of a sudden it's kind of like a switch. I ended up having to listen to this one because as I was reading, it wasn't really keeping my interest, so I highly recommend the audiobook. I feel like the two voice actors, which you get two for both of the characters, made it very entertaining, and they were kind of like acting it out as they were speaking, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. I think it made it go obviously a lot faster, and it kept me interested and entertained at least a little bit. I personally didn't feel any like tension or anything until like the romance started to pick up, and I was like, I don't know, this isn't really mixing or meshing for me. And then the actual storyline, I just didn't really connect much about this book, but again, it has nothing really to do with her writing style. I think I really enjoy her writing style, and I really am excited for the next one as well. So just because I didn't enjoy this one the most, I definitely don't think it'll put me off from reading the third one. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointment, but I am happy that I read it because I do enjoy that these are like serial killer romances. You have like the obviously serial killing, but then like the rom-communess mixed together, which I think the first one did so well with that, but yeah, this one just fell a little bit flat. And then I did my Happy Place reread. This literally highlight of my month. And it's crazy because right when I finished my reread, a couple days later they announced that it's becoming a TV series, so that's gonna be absolutely crazy. And the fact that it's so fresh on my mind, I'm just like so like, I don't know, I just can't wait to see who's casted, what's gonna happen with it. I just can't wait to visually see it. I am so nervous but so excited because this is one of my favorite Emily Henry books, and then reading it a second time solidified that so hard for me. I feel like at different stages of my life, rereading this is gonna hit all different times because this is about friends who take a vacation every summer together at one of the friends' beach houses. They go for a week, they spend a week together, they met in college, but our two main characters, Harriet and Wynne, they started dating and then eventually they got engaged, but their engagement is broken off. Their friends have no idea, but they have to spend the week together, obviously, in the vacation that they always do. But since their friends don't know, they're going to pretend that they are still engaged. So you have this like fake engagement, but you also have like a second chance thing going on. But what I love so much about this is I just don't know what Emily Henry put into this book specifically, but her writing style is so beautiful. Some of the quotes in here are like stunning. Like I have so many tabs, but also so many things highlighted and underlined that are just like ingrained in my brain. Like it is so beautiful. There's another one I think I connect to a lot, but Harriet I connect to a lot. So lots of things that she was thinking or doing or saying, like I was underlining. I was like, yep, me. Literally me. And not only did I connect to the characters and the writing is beautiful, but the storyline in general is really relatable. It has so many themes of friendship and relationships with not only like friends and as a couple, but also like family connections and everything like that. And the way that she writes about it feels very realistic, and again, I can connect to it very well. Friendship specifically in this one I feel like plays a pretty big part in it, and just following friends that like post college going through different things and like their lives going different ways but trying to connect as friends still. I just love the way that she wrote this. Obviously it's a 5-star. I'm obsessed with it. I can't wait to read this like many other times. The sun is coming out. The last book I read this month is Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This is her newest release in the Lakefront Billionaire series. This book comes after Love Redesigned, and if you were here when I read Love Redesigned, I give it like 4.75 stars. I was obsessed with it. It was so good. I think I'm just obsessed with her writing style, and the stories that she's been writing has just been so good. This one is about Raphael, who's not only a single father but also a billionaire, and then you have Ellie, who is the nanny of Raphael's son. She's actually a like live-in nanny, so she's living in the house with them. She's spending every day obviously with his son, and she has a big connection to the son, but Raphael has gone through stuff in his past and it's hard for him to connect to people, and he kind of has a strained relationship with his son, and he doesn't really get along with Ellie. But not only do you have that dynamic, they also have a Hawaii vacation that is scheduled for them all to go on, all three of them. I gave this book 4.25 stars. I think the Hawaii vacation was so fun and the perfect setting for reading this over the summer. Like she really portrayed Hawaii, and like the scenes that she included within it really felt like tropical and fun. Not only does this book have like the witty banter and the grumpiness of our main character Raphael, and you know, the giddiness you get from these two characters kind of like bantering between each other, you also have the depth behind it, and she gives them both backgrounds and things that they've gone through that feel realistic and makes them feel like real people, and gives them a lot of depth, which it kind of reminds me a lot of The Final Offer, where Callahan in that one had a lot that he was going through and that he had to get through in order to complete that book, which felt very similar to me in Raphael and also Ellie. They both had so much that they went through and that they need to like overcome and kind of deal with before they can be in a relationship with each other, and also dealing with obviously Raphael having a son. I really liked that element of the book too. Nico was so cute. He added like comedic relief but also a lot of emotional depth between both of these characters together and all three of them together. I love seeing that. I also love in single parent tropes seeing the other character kind of like come to love someone else's kid. Like it is just so sweet to see through the parent's eyes, like seeing someone else love your child as much as you do. It is so sweet. But as you can see, this book is pretty long. It is like I think a little bit over 600 pages, but like I said, they both have stuff that they have to kind of go through and overcome and think about, and also stuff in their personal lives, but then together and as a nanny and a boss and everything like that, that it just makes sense, the timelines of this book and the pacing of it and how long it is. There's like not all of this can be resolved in 300 pages, so I really enjoyed it. I feel like she put in the perfect scenes in each chapter for it all to make sense. Like nothing really dragged out throughout it. Every time I picked up this book, I couldn't put it down. I did read this book in a bunch of different sittings, but once I did pick it up, it was like I was already immersed into the world. Something about her writing is so fast paced that I'm just like obsessed obsessed with it and I can't wait for the next one. Like, you get hints in here of it and I am so excited to read it. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if any of these are on your radar for the summer or just in general. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!